Okay, take two. Welcome to today's conversation. Welcome to this live stream. My name is Cena Martin Chandler, and I am a faith-based business coach. I specialize in helping executive assistants heal their inner trust issues so they can hire their first employee. And in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about how simple it truly is to get to 10K months as an executive assistant if you do three simple things. If you are a mom in business, if you are an executive assistant, or you're building a virtual assistant business, and if you're struggling to get to that 10K month or that 5-figure month threshold that you really want to be at, this will be a really good conversation for you today. I want to start out just by asking you a question, and if you could put your answer in the comments, that would be awesome, and that would be really helpful. If you have experience trying to find an assistant, if you've had experience trying to hire good help in your business, what's the biggest struggle you have when it comes to that? What's been the hardest part for you of finding an assistant to assist you in your business? You being an executive assistant, you know all that really goes into that role, and you know what goes into keeping that position running, right? Because you're the one that's really doing all of the work. You're doing all of the client interaction. You're interfacing with your clients probably Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends if you have to. And then you're also doing all the behind the scenes work, all of the tasks. You're doing all of the little minute details of different projects that has to get completed. So you know really what goes into the whole thing. So what's the hardest part for you when you're out and you're trying to find an assistant to take some of those tasks off your hands? What has been the hardest part for you when it comes to hiring good help? Let me know in the comments. That would be really helpful for me, and then I'll always circle back around and come back and respond and kind of dialogue with you in the comments. Let me know what you're struggling with when it comes to that. But I want to start today's conversation just by kind of clarifying and shedding some light on what you're probably experiencing right now in your business. If you're at this point where you're struggling to hit that income threshold that you want to hit. In full transparency, I did not, and I am not building a virtual assistant business, but I have had clients who are executive assistants. I have worked with clients since 2004. When did I really start doing business coaching? I'll say 2015. I've worked with clients since 2015 on building their business and getting them to this their income threshold goals. And so I have a lot of experience with a lot of different kind of businesses when it comes to them getting to this like 10K mark. Full transparency, the highest I've ever gotten to in my personal business is $18,000. I did $18,000 in a month. A few times over, and it looked different for each month, but that's the highest that so far I've gotten to, thank the Most High. And so I know what it looks like to really get to that and what goes into it, and that's the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you guys. If you want to kind of do a background check on me, because I know a lot of people on the internet get on here and they run their mouth and they tell you what they've done with no receipts. I'm a girl that's all about the receipts, okay? So if you want to kind of do a background check, go to my website, cenamartinchandler.com. It's just my name.com, and you can go to my testimonials page and you can see all of the different women and all of the different mothers, because I typically work with moms, all of the different moms that I've worked with and helped with what we've been able to accomplish in their particular businesses, just so you can kind of do some research and find out more about my work and the clients that I have and I am working with at the current moment. Okay, so just to give you that before we get into content. So let's talk about what you're dealing with right now. And I know you already know this, but I want to just shed some light on it for you and possibly help you have a mindset shift, because that's what it's going to take if you're at this space in this place where you're doing 4K a month, 5K a month, 6K a month, and you're right there. You might even be at like the 8K mark, or you might just be touching the 10, but you can't see how you're able to stretch, and you can't see where you're going to be able to make room to get to the 10. And so I really want to kind of dig into where you are and then help you get some insight around that, so that you can see where you will be able to make some changes. Hopefully you can make changes, and if you take my advice off of this live stream, you'll be able to get to where you're trying to go by doing what we talk about. Emails, the phone calls, the changes they want made, if they have last minute tasks, because I know most of the times when you're in this position, you're dealing with clients who are sometimes hard to deal with, sometimes annoying, sometimes, a pain in the ass, let's just be real, and you have to deal with that too. Let's say you have a real busy and hectic week, and you're in the middle of your week, and you have a client just pop on you with a new project, and they want it done by Saturday, and you're looking at like a 48-hour deadline, and you've already been slammed by the entire week. And so these types of things make you feel stuck, because you can't see where you'll be able to make room to really focus on those MMTs. MMTs around here. So whenever you hear me say MMT, what I'm talking about, you can't focus on your MMTs, which is what you need to be doing to get to the 10, but you have no more room to stretch. And so you feel frustrated, you feel stagnant, you feel overwhelmed, you feel underpaid, because there's more that you have to give to your clients. There's more service that you can give. Okay, sorry. I'm at the beach, and so the signal down here is really like, it might go in and out, so I apologize ahead of time. But yeah, so you feel underwhelmed, you feel overwhelmed, and you feel underpaid, because you're in this position where you're doing so much work, but your money isn't showing the equivalent of the work that you're doing. But you have to continue to do the work that you're doing, such as doing the client, facing work, talking to your clients, and working through the tasks they need done every single week, because you are their executive assistant, right? And you have to continue to do that work, because that's where your money's coming from. So it's this hamster wheel of frustration, overwhelm, underpaid, and it goes around in a circle until you just get fed up, right? And then layer that on top of the relationships that are suffering in your life, because your work life is really not where you want it to be. Your business can soar. There's demand for what you offer, because you constantly get people referred to you, or you're constantly, running into someone at the car repair shop, or on Instagram, or you're running into, different women in business, different people who are seasoned in business, and they have never entertained the concept of hiring an executive assistant until you came along and told them why they need to hire an executive assistant. So clients isn't really the problem for you. The problem for you is the capacity. The clients are there, the capacity is not. And so what we need to look at is, how can you, I'm gonna get into that in a second, because then we're going to talk about the solution and the 3 things you need to do to simply get to those 10K months. But going back to the relationships that are suffering because your work life isn't where you want it to be. Your relationship with your business is probably tanking because you feel like this is not the business that you had in mind when you started this dream. I know you're being patient with it, and then again, I'm faith-based, and so are you. So let's get into the biblical side of things. This is not the dream that that God had for you. This is not the level of service that you're able to give to transform the other lives that come and be a part, that come to be a part of your life. And then the way I like to look at this too is just to kind of shed some light on the problem that you're going through, right? I just want to shed a little bit of light. And the way I like to look at this is one of your biggest desired results, right, internally, is that you want to just take more time to learn about who you are, and you want to take more time for yourself, because the business has gotten to a point where it's all consuming. It's consuming you, and it's starting to pull apart and take away things out of your life that fulfill and nurture and expand you, right? So you aren't able really to dream like you used to anymore. You aren't really able to I don't want to say visualize, but you aren't really able to have the vision of what's next and where you want to go next, because you're so lost in the day-to-day mundane work of your business that you're trying to build, but you're doing everything by yourself to keep it afloat. And so I like to take a look at the Proverbs 31 woman when we talk about this, and I'm going to give you a different perspective, because everybody talks about the Proverbs 31 woman, but let me give it to you from this perspective. When it mentions in Proverbs 31st chapter that she considers her moves before she goes and does business. For example, it said that she went and considered the land before she bought it. She went to merchants and did her business from afar, right? Her candle didn't go out by night. Everything she did was meticulous. Everything she did was strategic, and everything that Proverbs 31 woman did was thought out before she moved, before she went in a certain direction. But the point was, she kept transactions flowing. She kept business happening. And while she kept business happening, her children were calling her blessed. Her husband was being praised in the gates because of the type of woman she was. She was bringing honor and joy and love to her family, right? She was clothed in scarlet, and she was clothed in the finest of linens, because she carried herself a certain way. And so that Proverbs 31 woman, her life had a balance to it. And you hear it called as work-life balance, but biblically she just had an entire spirit on her of order and structure, and things were done a certain way. And so when you're looking at that, and then you're looking at your particular situation, where's the disconnect where your business is overtaking your life, but the rest of your life doesn't have that balance to it? Are you keeping transactions flowing? Probably not, because you have the clients that can come through the door, but the capacity, you're not able to handle it because it's just you. Okay? Are you balancing your life where your children are calling you blessed? They have that time with you. They're able to be nurtured and raised and loved, and they're able to spend time with you, and they realize right from wrong because their mother is there being able to teach them. Probably not, because you're probably losing out on movie night. You're not really spending time with your children the way you want to be or need to be, because you're up till 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night doing client work. You're back up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning doing client work, checking calendars, right? Checking emails. You're not, and then with this whole COVID thing going on, you guys are home more, but they probably see you less. You're probably home more, but the kids probably see you less. And if you're married and you have a spouse, I mean, really, let's get into the weight of how heavy a busy business weighs on our marriage. Most of us have been taught, well, if you're out here getting it, and if you're out here being a successful, independent black woman, you doing the damn thing and you being a boss. But not really if you're not bossing in your marriage, meaning if you're not still being a wife to that man, if you're not still having a loving, nurturing relationship, and you guys spend time together. All the things that it takes to keep a marriage or a relationship going. It takes time. It takes nurturing. It takes focus. It takes communication. You need that. And when you start stripping those characteristics and those things away, I don't know if characteristics is the right word, but when you start stripping those things away, you leave a sore in the middle of your relationships. So parallel where you are to that Proverbs 31 woman that you want to be. Where's the disconnect? And here's where I want to talk about why is it that you're really, why is it that you're going through what you're going through. And this is where you probably, if you haven't started taking notes yet, start taking notes right here. I want to just kind of touch on why. First and foremost, you feel stuck because you're growing. You feel stuck because you're growing. There's a internal shift that always happens before the external shift. To put it in terms where you will understand it, and you may have heard this, in different sermons or different spiritual teachers or pastors that you've listened to before, but you already, if you know this, you do. If you don't, let me enlighten you. Things happen on a spiritual level, on an unseen level, before they happen in a physical. Period. They happen on an unseen, internal, unidentifiable level before you can physically see it and it manifests in reality. And so you feel like you're standing still. You feel like your client work is taking over your life and you're not able to grow. But the truth of the matter is you've already grown past where you're at. You've already surpassed the capacity that you're able to handle right now. You have 5 clients right now. Internally, you're probably ready to handle 15, but you just can't see it yet because you haven't physically manifested the changes that's already happened internally. Spiritually, you already at another level. You're just blocking it from coming to fruition physically. And so this is where we got to make that change. This is where you got to make that connect. This is why I told you, if you listen to this conversation today, you're probably prayerfully going to have a mindset shift because things have already moved the needle for you. It's you that has to physically open up and move the needle. Now with some things you got to do. Now with some works you have to put in, because the faith already got you to the next part. The faith already healed the problem. The faith already moved the foundation that you were trying to build. But you have to put some works in there so that the faith you sowed doesn't come up dead. You got to put some works in. And so that's why you're feeling the pain that you're feeling. There's an internal, to recap and to reiterate, there's an internal shift. There's an internal shift that's happened. And you're now physically trying to move up to the next level of serviceship and leadership. I hope you guys can hear me, because this is some good stuff. What's happening now, to repeat, is you're moving up to the next level of serviceship and leadership. And so you feel uncomfortable. Think about a kid. Perfect example. Well, I'm going to use this as an example. Think about you when you transitioned from middle school to high school. Do you remember that shift and how that felt? Do you remember the strong shift that you had to kind of undertake mentally to prepare yourself to be a high schooler? That was a big deal. And so there's this whole thing you have to go through in your mind where it's wow, I'm maturing. I need to be, alert for these types of situations. I need to pay attention for this type of person, because this type of person would be good for me to bond with and learn from and become friends with in my development. And I need to be aware of these type of people who will deflect and who will derail me from the goals that I'm going to have as a high schooler. And so it was a whole plan. The kind of people you needed to be around, the type of mindset you needed to have, the level of focus that you had to have, the type of people that you had to have in your circle to keep you on your studies, to help you get into the colleges you wanted to get into, to help you scout the right school, the right scholarships, the right programs, and the right majors, right? So it was a whole shift internally and externally. You had to think different and you had to move different. And it's the same thing going on with you right now. So that's why you're feeling that pain that you're feeling. There's a shift. And now it's time for you to move. And so one of your biggest pain points, one of the biggest pains that you probably have in your side right now it's a thorn in your side, is that you're losing yourself in the grind of the business. You're losing yourself in the grind of building the business. But the mindset shift is this. Watch this. You can build the business. You can take out the grind. And you can still build the business with strategy. Because the grind is you just putting the pedal to the, just putting, boots on the pavement. The grind is you going to sleep at 12 o'clock and waking up at 6 a.m. The grind is you completely out of alignment with that Proverbs 31 woman you want to be. But the strategy is when you consider the moves you make before you make them. The strategy is you still have those healthy relationships with yourself, with your girlfriends, with your sisters, with your husband, with your children, with your boyfriend, with your mother, with your family members, and with yourself while your business is thriving. It's strategic movements, not grinding. You've grown past the grind. You've grown past the grind. But you have to recognize it. And so let's talk about the one problem you have. What the biggest problem, I'll tell you what it is right now. Here's the name of the game. Here's the name of your problem. The name of your problem is you need to step up into the manager role of your business and build a small team, even when you don't know where to start. That's the problem. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And so I'm going to ask you again with this new information that you have. When it has come to you hiring assistants, a virtual assistant, an intern, your sister, cousin, Pookie and whoever from the family to come help you in the business, when it came to you getting great help, what's been the biggest problem for you? What's been the biggest problem for you? While you're considering that, I want to show you something. And I covered the one thing you need to do to hit those 10K months because I want to stick on topic. The first thing that you need to do is step into that manager role. Step into that manager role. And start to get into the mindset of hiring a small team. We'll talk about how, we'll talk about the money, we'll talk about how to do it, where to do it, but that's the first thing. And so I drew this visual that I want you to take a look at. I hope you can see this because I am sitting in a car. But this is an organizational chart. Can you see that? And just to give you an example of an organizational chart, which you 9 times out of 10 you may know what this is, but in case you don't, it's the structure of what an organization would look like, a business or organization or something of that sort, like an entity, right? And so this is what a business structure would look like, just a very basic one, right? And so if you can see at the top, I have like the vice president, the CEO is up here. The CEO is obviously at the top, and then you have like vice president of marketing, vice president of sales, and then you have all of the people who are underneath of them. Okay, and I left this one blank because let's say you want to add whatever you want to add up there. Let's say this is your business, okay? And so you can see underneath vice president of sales, for example, there's an account executive, there's a manager, and there's a sales representative or a sales associate at the bottom. Okay, just to give you an example, everybody answers to somebody else. Now you can have it like that where it's like a chain of command, or you can have it where teams work together. Maybe all of your managers work together. Maybe all of your associates work together. However you want to structure it. I just want you to focus on the levels for a second though. Let's stick to the levels because I don't want you to get confused. Now, let's look over here to the left where it says virtual assistant, executive assistant, manager. Do you see that? Okay. At the bottom, you have the virtual assistant. That person is like I said, your associate, right? Like your your just above minimum wage, hourly worker who gets tasks, follows tasks, clocks in and out on the clock. That's your bottom virtual assistant. I could say the person's on the bottom, but that's that position. Right above that, right, you have the executive assistant, which is where your title is, right? That person has much more overseeing duties. So you do much more than just a typical, $12 an hour virtual assistant would do, right? Okay, and then above that you have manager. Now, in comparison to like the VP of sales that I mentioned, where you have the sales associate and then the manager and then the account executive. The account executive is high level. The account executive is like the manager. They're right by each other. The manager is high level. That person has to do strategy. That person has to go to the top people at the company, and they have to communicate between each other what direction the company is moving in. How is the company moving forward? What's the quarter goals? How are you growing? What direction is the brand moving in? All of that kind of stuff. That's the higher level. That level goes down and communicates it to the next level. What they need, the tasks they need, the tasks they need those below them to do. So now you're down to the executive assistant. So let's say the manager gives the executive assistant what needs to get done, and then the executive assistant gives the virtual assistant what needs to be done. So my point is, you're really here. You're really here, and I hope this is making sense. And if you have questions, put them in the comments so I can come back and address them and answer them. But you're really here. You're doing all of the small tasks at the bottom. You're answering emails. You're managing the phone calls. You're managing the invoices that come in. All the small stuff. But you're also up here. Executive assistant, and in the manager space, you're also dealing with strategy. You're also dealing with how are you going to get more clients in the door, right? You're doing the higher minds, the higher work that requires strategy, thought, market research. All of those types of tasks are higher level tasks. And so my point is, you have to move out of this spot. You have to remove yourself out of the email responding, doing PayPal invoices, okay, organizing Trello boards, right? You have to get organizing people's calendars. You're beyond internally, spiritually. You've moved past that level. That level is done for you. It's mastered. That's why you're able to do half of this stuff in your sleep. You're beyond that. You got to move out the way, because we need you up here to fully focus. This is where the MMTs are. Look at the manager. The manager's up there with the account executive. They're up there with the managers. They're right below the VPs, the vice presidents, who are right below the CEO. You got to go back up to the top, because the top level is where the higher percentages are. The 1%, 2%, 3% of the company. You got to get up there, because that's where your money making tasks are going to be focused on. We can't have you answering emails if you got to go out here and make sure, if you have to go out here and strategize how you're going to get $2,000 more in the door in client service next month. We need you out there making the money. You need you out there making the money. And so my point is, you have to move out of this role. That's why it's crucial for you to build a small team. It's crucial. Here's my point. Here's my positioning on this. I believe the fastest way to build your business, and you can put this down as the next thing you need to do. Know the fastest way to build your business, because everybody's conversation about how to build a business and how to build a company is different. Your business may be one of those businesses, hear me out, that will not grow the way you want it to from social media marketing. It will not grow the way you want it to from email marketing. Maybe yours won't respond to branding, brand strategy. Maybe the way your company is going to grow the way you want it to is you need to hire a small team, or start small. Hire your first employee. Just your first one. Your executive assistant to your executive assistant. Hire your first one, because maybe you focusing on those MMTs, those money making tasks, and your assistant focusing on that great help, that great client service. I mean, the client service that's so great that it feels like you're doing the task yourself, but you're not. Maybe that is the way that you're going to be able to go and focus on securing new contracts, sending out new proposals, consulting with new clients. Maybe that's what you need, so that you can go and secure the bag and your assistant can secure the client service. Maybe that's your ticket to building a fast growing company, because that's really what you want to be doing. But you're not going to get there sitting in the seat of doing all the things. You're not going to get there sitting in the seat of answering the emails. You're not going to get there answering phone calls, organizing Trello boards, organizing people's calendars. You got to get out of that role. And you know you do. And you got to get out of it now. Not when, in 6 months from now. In 6 months from now, how much money are you losing every month by not doing this now? Let's be honest. All right. So we're almost done here. We're almost done here. But so far, you need to the two things you need to do to hit those 10K months simply as an executive assistant. One, you need to step into the manager role, even if you don't know how to do it. And I want you to stick around for this video series that I'm going to be doing over the next 6 or so weeks, because we're going to really talk about how to do this and how this can work for you. But one, you got to step into that manager role, even if you don't know what you're doing, because you're going to learn how to do this by the end of this video series. Number two, you got to understand that you got to hire a small team. My dad just walked out. You got to hire a small team. Start with one person, one assistant, one employee. But you got to get out of that virtual assistant role so you can get into the manager role. You have to remove yourself. Think about McDonald's. I'm going to use this analogy, and then I want to go into what a day filled with you doing MMTs would look like. Because I want to kind of give you a visual example, and I'm taking my time with this live stream for a reason. This one's a little longer, but I'm taking my time here because I really want you to be able to soak this in and then apply this to what this looks like for your particular situation. And so let me give you an analogy really quick to help you kind of understand the stepping into the manager role, and if that's hard to visualize for you. And so what that looks like is this. I don't know if you guys have ever think about McDonald's, right? Think about McDonald's. When you go into McDonald's, they have a menu. They have a specific way they make their burger. It's very specific. The bun, the bread, the bun, the burger, the onion, the pickle, and then what? The ketchup, I think it is, right? I don't really eat McDonald's burgers, but I think that's how it goes. But they have a specific way. Every single burger is made the exact same way. It's so simple of a process that a teenager or a middle schooler, if it was legal for them to work, right? Fresh out of school could get a job at McDonald's for whatever they're paying an hour now, and they can go and they can make those burgers. They don't need any type of managerial experience. They don't need a college degree for that, right? Anyone, young or old, experienced in a job or inexperienced in a job, could go in there and make those burgers. But the point is, that position is one of the lower level starter out assistant positions, right? Making the burgers. Then you have to go up and you get into the management. The management has a different level of responsibility. They have to make sure that franchise location is running. They have to make sure the books are done correctly, right? They have a different level of responsibility. Only when it's desperately needed, and most of the times you won't even see it. You usually won't see a manager back there making burgers, because they have somebody to fill that role. That role is simple. That role is detailed. The standards of the operations are laid out so that what needs to be done in that role is spelled out. It's in a book. The instructions step by step are right there in the kitchen. It's easy to understand. Anybody can do it. And that position is easy to fill. Anybody with any experience can fill that role. That's not your case because you need an assistant who has a certain level of qualifications and skills. But my point is that position you're in right now can be systemized like that. You can systemize somebody answering your emails, answering those phone calls, doing those client invoices. All of that small, organizing somebody's calendar, organizing someone's Trello board, all of that stuff can be lined out, spelled out, and systemized. And you probably already have it somewhere in a Google document. You just need a person who is capable and able to fill the role. But you got to get out that role because you're in the person's spot. You want somebody to come to you and you want somebody to fulfill that role, but they can't get in it because you're in the seat. So this is what I mean by stepping out of the role. We have to step out of the kitchen. It's time for you to step away and let somebody else make the burgers. Let somebody else make the burgers so you can step into the higher level strategy role of growing the sales. Somebody has to focus on money. Somebody has to focus on service. Service and sales. Somebody has to focus on service and sales. You're so in the service, the sales are suffering. And so I want you to get out of the service so you can get into the sales. So here's what a day filled with you focusing on those sales look like. And like I said, I call this MMTs. And give me 1 second because I actually jotted down a bunch of these and I wanted to go over them with you. I may not even have it. Wait a minute. I may not have it in here, but let's see. Okay. A day filled with your MMTs looks like this. You wake up in the morning and we're almost wrapping up here. So take any more notes. If I say anything that sticks with you or resonates with you and it really helps you, take notes. You wake up in the morning, you do your morning prayer that you do every single morning. You get yourself, prepared and ready for the day. You have your protein shake or your detox drink or whatever it is you drink in the morning. You get your children, son, daughter, up and ready, so they can go ahead, and it's summertime now, but still, you guys probably have different activities that you go to, practice that you make. I don't know if you guys are still doing like basketball camp or soccer practice or things like that, but you probably get ready for whatever it is you have to do through the day. That's first. And then you go downstairs and you go ahead and check your email and your calendar for the morning. See if there's any appointments you need to, brush up on before you have those phone calls for the day. And then your assistant checks in with you just to let you, or you can see that the assistant has already gotten to work and they're already working on the client service items that you have for that day. So that's great. They're already working before you even got downstairs. That feels amazing. It feels like you're being productive first thing in the morning. We love that. And then you're able to go to your very first client meeting that you have for the day. You only have one because your assistant is able to take care of all of the other stuff. So you only have one client meeting probably at about 10 a.m. You're able to go to that, and that's discussing them getting into a higher level package. So you're securing a sale before 11 o'clock in the morning. That's amazing. And then you're able to just take an hour or two off for yourself, a long lunch. You've worked pretty hard this week. You're able to just enjoy yourself, take off a nice lunch, maybe have a date, a midday date lunch or something like that, and then come back to it. And the rest of the afternoon, you're working on your packages. You're working on sending out consultation follow-up emails because you have a couple more clients that are waiting to get through the door. You just want to make sure they're in the right, they're purchasing the right packages for the amount of time that they're going to need from your company every single month. You're able to double check where your sales are for the month. You're able to look at the budget to make sure you're on budget with everything. You focus the day on the money. You focus the day on MMTs, consultations, sales calls if you need to do those. putting clients into retainer packages or bumping clients up to the higher or the next level package. You can focus on that because the assistant did the deadline projects that were due today. The assistant got things done early this week, so you weren't even having to worry about certain projects being done because the assistant already took care of it. Your assistant answered the emails for the day. She answered the phone calls for the day. She gave you updates on things before you asked for them because she's on point, because she has the same vision as you do, the same beliefs, right? Spiritually, you guys are in alignment. And so you were able to secure another $1,000, another $1,500 in client contracts today because your assistant was focused on the tasks. And you're done work by 4 o'clock. You're done the workday by 4. So you're able to go out for a run, go exercise. If you want to, you could take your kid out to the park. You guys can go out for, a yogurt if you want to, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon, maybe even a movie night tonight, right? Maybe a sleepover outside in the backyard. You guys pitch a tent and do s'mores, things like that. Or maybe you and your significant other have a movie night planned, wine and steak and a great movie to watch. But your day is filled with productivity, money-making tasks, and peace because the system is working so well, you can take your focus and go focus on other things. And that is what helps you get from 5 clients and $5,000 a month to 10 clients, 12 clients, 15 clients, and $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month, $18,000 a month, if that's what you want to do. But you gotta be able to open up your capacity of what you're able to physically receive. See, we do so much work on our spiritual and on our inner that we're afraid sometimes of the levels of success that's trying to come to us physically, or that the Most High is trying to give to us in the physical, because we limit ourselves to what we think we're able to handle. We close off. But don't you know those prayers have power behind it? Don't you know when you ask for certain things, you most likely get what you ask for if it's meant, if it's the season for that? And so what I want you to do is start to think, wow, what has already manifested for me spiritually that I haven't even allowed to come into my reality yet because I'm afraid to step into the next role of what I should be doing. I'm afraid to step into the next role of who I should be serving, how I should be leading. Maybe I can manage a small team. Maybe I can triple my client base and have the very same high touch, high level of client service that I have right now. Maybe my limiting beliefs can be overcome because I can overcome all things through Christ who strengthens me. Maybe I can move into the next level of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I want you to start asking yourself those different types of questions. Because what's possible for you that you haven't allowed to be possible for you this far? Remember, you're experiencing this stagnation and this frustration as this solo do-it-yourselfpreneur because you've already grown internally. There's just a few nuts and bolts you need to put together so you can get to the next level. And I can't wait to see you and help you experience that. I can't wait. Okay? So recap. 3 things for you to do so you can get your 10K months. 1, step into the manager role. 2, start looking at and believing that you need to hire at the very least your first assistant, first employee, or a small team. Start with 1. Start with 1. Hire 1 good assistant. Hire 1 good employee. Don't just go out and hire. Look at what, remember what I said, consider. Remember the Proverbs 31 woman. Consider and then do the purchase. Strategize and then make the move. How can you work that into the budget? How can you learn from the mistakes that you made the last time with the last assistant that you made? It wasn't all the assistant that did it. Maybe you made some mistakes too. How can you do this strategically so that you get an ROI from the person that you bring on your team? Can you get a great intern? Can you start to practice being the manager with a good intern? What's possible? Maybe delegation is what you need to do, not brand strategy. Maybe delegation is the answer to you hitting 10K months, not email marketing. Maybe less marketing and more momentum in your structure is what's needed for you to get to the 10K months that you want to get to, the 15K months that you want to get to. What's needed for you is the question. And so I hope today's conversation was helpful to you. I know we've been on here for quite some time, but I really wanted to dig into the pain and the problem that you're going through so that some clarity could be given around that. If you had any breakthroughs during this conversation, please drop them in the comments. Not only does it help me get this message out to more people, but it also helps me engage in conversation with you, so we can really discuss where you are and how you're going to move from the transformations you're already having on the inside and spiritually, and move those transformations to the physical. I would love to hear from you, and if you are moved by this live stream and you know that you want to have a next step call with me so we can truly discuss how you can experience those transformations in a specific time frame with working with me one-to-one, and how we can help you to hire the great help that you truly need in your business now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. Go ahead and book a next step call with me. The link is above or below this video, probably above because you're watching this most likely on Facebook or Instagram. Go ahead and click that link to my website, schedule an appointment with me, and I can't wait to have a conversation with you in regards to how you're going to be able to bring on that help that you now know that you need in your business to get to those 5-figure months that you deserve. Not just desire, but you deserve them. I would love to speak with you. Can't wait to hear from you. Comment, DM, or schedule an appointment, a next step call with me. Either way, I will respond within 24 hours. And please share this video out. Share this video out so that those who may need help with this exact topic get what they need from this. I will be here again next week. I am going to be announcing the live stream series that I'm doing. This is the second video in the series, and I'll be announcing more information about what the series is really about, how this is going to help you as an executive assistant triple your results, and I can't wait to see you for next week's video. So with that being said, I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and until next time, bye.